Hello, everyone. It's Older Americans Month, and we are live. Welcome and thank you for joining us today on Level Up Law. Every Tuesday at noon, South Carolina Legal Services is leveling up your legal knowledge. I'm Susan Engel, Senior Staff Attorney with South Carolina Legal Services, and I'll be the host of the webinar today, along with our producer, Kenneth Elliott, from our IT department here at South Carolina Legal Services. We are joined today by Attorney Lynn Farr. Lynn is the managing attorney of our Spartanburg office, and we're so excited that she will be here sharing information about the financial abuse and exploitation of seniors. This is a really important topic to us here at Legal Services and a timely one as we near the end of Older Americans Month. And we know there's a thirst for knowledge and helpful resources out there, so we'll be providing information about what South Carolina Legal Services is doing in this area, and also identifying other resources for you. So we're going to get going in just a moment, but first, as you view today's presentation, please remember this is not legal advice, but just general information for the public. You should always consult with an attorney for any specific legal issues that you have. And at the end of the presentation today, we will provide information on how to apply for free legal assistance at South Carolina Legal Services, and how to access our public information and resources. Also, a recording of the webcast is going to be posted on our YouTube channel by Kenneth shortly after the presentation this week. And so along with that, we'll have the slides that Lynn will be using today. So check out our YouTube channel. You don't need to try to take notes because you can see the recording of this not too long after it is over. So go to our YouTube channel and also find all of the other Level Up Law episodes there that we've had for the past year. Again, thanks so much for joining us, everyone. And Lynn Farr, let's get started.
All right, thank you everyone for joining us today. Can click over. There we go. As Susie said, today we're going to be talking about financial abuse and exploitation of seniors and the elderly, and this is a big concern for us at South Carolina Legal Services and also a public concern as well. So May is Older Americans Month, and June 15th is World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. And the theme for this year's World Elder Abuse Awareness Day is Communities of Strength. The purpose of this day is to provide an opportunity for communities around the world to promote a better understanding of abuse and neglect of older persons by raising awareness of the cultural, social, economic, and demographic processes that affect elder abuse and neglect. So what is financial abuse and exploitations of seniors and the elderly? Financial exploitation happens when someone illegally or improperly uses your money or belongings for their personal use. Financial exploitation is the fastest growing form of elder abuse. It is a crime that often goes unreported. And today we're going to talk about some ways to protect yourself and the older adults in your life. So just a few facts to show exactly how much of an impact this has. It's predicted that over 5% of older adults experience financial exploitation every year. This includes men and women. Financial exploitation is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Older adults with cognitive incapacity sadly suffer much greater economic losses than those without. And it is estimated that only 1 in 44 incidents of financial harm is reported to authorities. Consequences can be very severe, including financial loss, hospitalization, and institutionalization of victims of financial exploitation. So some common types of financial exploitation include something as simple as an adult child or grandchild or other trusted person using an ATM card without permission. So someone is going to go get money out of the ATM or buy groceries or gas for the elderly person, and they give them their PIN number. Well, then in addition to getting the groceries, they also go and withdraw $50 or $100 out of the ATM without the permission of the person who's doing that. Forging a signature on a check or a property title, including wills, deeds, or mortgages. Telling an older adult that money is needed for college or another more legitimate sounding expense when the money is really being used for other purposes. Using a power of attorney or guardianship to benefit themselves rather than the older adult. Unauthorized sales, so selling family heirlooms such as jewelry, rings, the family farm, land. Threats to harm precious property if money is not handed over, including pets or other things that are dear to the older person. And then also the actual theft of money or possessions. So 10 common warning signs of elder financial exploitation are listed here. So some things to be looking for if you work with older Americans, or you have older parents, or you are an older person and you have friends, are sudden changes in banking practices, or if someone is suddenly being accompanied to the bank by an unknown person, by someone that they didn't know very long before that. Someone's adding a new name on a bank signature card. Seeing withdrawals on your account that you did not make or authorize. Credit card charges that you didn't make. It's very important to check bank and credit card statements. If you notice that someone is suddenly making a change in their will or other financial documents, revoking a power of attorney and making a new power of attorney when there's really not a need to do so. Applying for a mortgage when a house is already paid off. Sadly, I've dealt with a similar situation where, someone's child had their power of attorney and mortgaged their paid for house and took the money from the mortgage, did not make any mortgage payments. And the first time the person learned of this mortgage being a problem was when they were served with the writ of assistance, which was the document telling them they had a certain number of days to move out of the house they had lived in since the 60s. An unexplained disappearance of funds or possessions, substandard care or unpaid bills when there are adequate financial resources, and then the sudden appearance of previously uninvolved relatives. So on the next few slides, I'm going to go through 11 ways to protect yourself and loved ones, and then I have a couple of resources of where you can find additional tools to do this as well. So as I alluded to on the previous slide, it's very important that you check bank and financial statements each month. Make sure there are no charges that you're not aware of on your out of your bank account. And also if you have any credit cards, also check those. Financial materials, anything with account numbers, social security numbers, anything like that needs to be stored in a locked drawer or out of sight. Talk to your bank about age-friendly banking options, so paperless billing or online banking, if those are options that you want to explore and feel comfortable dealing with, or have someone that you trust to help you do that. Tear up or shred credit card receipts, bank statements, and financial records before you dispose of them. Excuse me. If you are offered a prize, a loan, investment opportunity that sounds too good to be true, it generally is. So always just be very wary of anyone who's trying to offer you something for nothing or something very big for something small. Take your time. Don't allow yourself to be rushed. Consult with someone you trust before you make a large purchase or investment. If you do not understand a document that someone's trying to have you sign, seek help before you sign it, either from a trusted friend or from an attorney. You want to make sure that you have something that you know what you're signing before you sign it. There was a case several years ago where a gentleman thought he was signing over the title to his mobile home to a relative for when he died to avoid probate. And the person then went to the DMV, had the mobile home title transferred, and then evicted this person. We were able to file a legal action and get that back, but it was a very time-consuming and iffy process that required him to have alternative housing for a long period of time. So it's very important that you always, know what you're signing and know exactly what you're signing before you sign anything. Complete a background check before you hire someone for personal assistance services. So if you're going to have someone in the house cleaning for you or providing nursing care for you or anything like that, you either want to go through a reputable agency that, has ratings that you can track and find, or you want to do a personal background check before you do that. If you need help managing your finances, ask someone you trust to act as your agent for a power of attorney. Use a daily money manager or a representative payee for Social Security benefits. Change your benefits to being received by direct deposit so that checks are not being mailed. Social Security already does this in most situations, but if you have pension accounts or anything like that, it's really a good idea to go ahead and try to have those direct deposited, because it just leaves less room for people to steal things out of the mailbox and get information. And protect your personal information. Do not give out personal information like your Social Security number, bank account numbers, credit card numbers, unless you contacted the person who's asking for that information and you know that they are who they say they are. Some additional resources to protect yourself and your loved ones would be to go ahead and add yourself to the National Do Not Call Registry. This will help to reduce telemarketing calls. And you can also check your free credit report every year from annualcreditreport.com. This is different than the freecreditreport.com that advertises on TV or the other for-profit. This is actually something that you're entitled to receive every year. You can get a free credit report from each of the 3 major bureaus, and it doesn't have your credit score on it, but it does allow you to look and make sure that there are no suspicious accounts or charges or anything that's delinquent that shouldn't be on your credit report. All right. So next up, we're going to talk about financial advisors. You should always proceed with caution. Before you trust a financial advisor, you should check that person's background. Not all titles or credentials are the same or equal, and you should always watch out for sales pitches that are disguised as educational seminars. Many financial advisors may call themselves senior experts, but they may not all have your best interests at heart or the right kind of training to serve you well. Insurance agents, brokers, financial planners, and other financial professionals sometimes have titles like retirement advisor and senior specialist. There are dozens of similar sounding titles that imply expertise in senior needs. However, these are not always equal to each other, and special titles don't always mean someone is qualified to help you manage your money. It's your responsibility to find out what the titles mean and to check and verify the qualifications of the person who is offering you advice. If you're ever invited to an investment seminar, there are some things to watch out for. So if you see a retirement or senior seminar advertised as educational or as a workshop, you should beware. The true goal may be to sell investments, insurance, or financial products at the seminar or in follow-up calls. You should always watch out for freebies. Freebies such as lunch or dinner invitations, golf trips, country club outings, get you to come to marketing and sales events, and then they give you something knowing you'll be more likely to give them something in return. Always be cautious and aware of high pressure sales tactics. You may be asked to make quick investment decisions or be warned that opportunities are limited. Don't try not to fall for these schemes. Good financial advisors will not rush you because it takes good time to make good investment decisions. Watch out for exaggerated claims. If you're told about investments that make a lot of money without much risk, don't believe it. If you think an advisor made exaggerated or unrealistic claims about investment risk or returns, you should report this to your state securities or insurance regulator. And always check your advisor's background before you hire a financial advisor. It's a good idea to ask for references and get a background report. If a financial advisor is regulated by state or federal government, you can check the status of their license and find information about their professional history using the online resources that are on the next slide. So the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau suggests these websites to check the background of your financial advisor. And again, this information will be available shortly on our YouTube channel, so there's no need to write this down at this time. Another common problem that seniors experience are debt collection problems or harassment. And I'm going to go over some suggestions from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau on what you or your loved ones can do to protect themselves from debt collection problems or harassment. So the first thing is the most important one. Get more information if you do not recognize the debt. Older consumers report that debt collectors may have inaccurate or inadequate information, and sometimes they don't provide sufficient information to help you identify the debt. Almost 1/3 of the older consumers who submitted a complaint couldn't identify the debt being collected. So if you're contacted by a debt collector or someone claiming to be a debt collector, ask for the company's name and address. If they refuse to give you this information, you may be dealing with someone who is being fraudulent to obtain sensitive information from you. If you think that a caller may be a fake debt collector, ask the caller for his or her name, company, street address, telephone number, and professional license number. If you have the company's name and address, but you don't recognize the debt, ask for more information in writing. Send this letter as soon as you can, if at all possible, within 30 days of when a debt collector contacts you the first time about a debt. Number 2, dispute the debt if it's not yours or the debt is wrong. You can write a letter disputing the debt or any portion of the debt. It's important to do so as soon as possible after you're first contacted and to keep copies of any letters you send. If you dispute a debt or part of a debt in writing within 30 days of when you receive the required information from the debt collector cannot call or contact you until after the debt collector has obtained verification of the debt and has provided the verification of the debt in writing to you. Stop harassing and or offensive calls. Older adults have reported that debt collectors sometimes refuse to take no for an answer. In reporting your complaints, in reporting in their complaints that debt collectors often use offensive language and make threats. Here at Legal Services, we've heard about collectors who call older clients using profanity or derogatory names. You do not have to put up with this. This is not proper at all. You can send a letter to the debt collector telling them to stop contacting you. If you dispute the amount due or you do not believe that it's your debt, you should put that in the letter too. Telling a debt collector to stop contacting you does not stop the collection, including the filing of a lawsuit against you or reporting negative information about you to a credit reporting company. However, it should stop the harassing and/or offensive phone calls. Know your rights. Your federal benefits have many protections from garnishment and collection. Many older consumers rely on Social Security or other federal benefits and have frequently complained to the Consumer Protection Financial Bureau that debt collectors threaten them with garnishment of these benefits. Most federal benefits, such as Social Security, VA benefits, and SSI, are protected in debt collection. There are exceptions, such as for money owed in child support, spousal support, federal student loans, or federal taxes. When you receive federal benefits by direct deposit to your checking account, your bank or credit union is required automatically to protect up to 2 months of these benefits that are directly deposited into your account. If you receive your benefits on a government-issued prepaid card, those are usually protected too. Some exceptions may exist for debts owed to a federal or state agency. If you are not sure if your federal benefits are being wrongfully garnished, you should seek legal advice. And now I'm going to transition to a little bit of a different problem that we see a lot at legal services and just in general. We have a lot of clients or people who complain that they are getting or who become victims of telephone or email scams. So some common ones that we have seen in the upstate of South Carolina, personally and through, just client reports, are we've had people who were called and received calls and claims to be from Duke Energy or another utility company and demanded the payment in gift cards, a money order, or other form of payment, and were advised that your utilities would be shut off that day. Someone will call and claim to be from a local law enforcement agency and claims that they have a warrant for your arrest or other similar threat. They will sometimes even call from a legitimate number because these scam artists have found a way to spoof the number so that it shows up on caller ID as a legitimate number. You receive an email about a charge to an account, a missed payment, etc., but the sender's email address is suspicious or you have not made any recent charges. So what should you do if you get a suspicious email or phone call? You should not give out any personal information such as your Social Security number, bank account, credit card information, etc. And you should not click on any links in an email that you receive. Number 2, you should ask for a callback number that you can report to law enforcement, the utility company, or Social Security if it did not show up on your caller ID. You should find a legitimate telephone number for the company online and call that number to report the phone call and verify if they had contacted you. So a few months ago, I received an email purporting to be from Best Buy credit card services about the new iPhone I purchased. And it looked very, very legitimate. It had the Best Buy logo in it and everything. The only problem was I knew for a fact that, one, we only use Androids in our house because we try to have the same charger, so my husband wouldn't have used the card for that. We also have an account with a phone company, so it wasn't likely that either of us would have purchased that at Best Buy. And also, there were no charges on that card because I had just paid it off. So I looked at it, it had a number to call and everything. I actually called the number in the email first, and then it didn't answer like a typical call center for Best Buy would answer. for card services. So I had a brief phone call, realized it was probably a scam, and ended that phone call, then called Best Buy Card Services and reported it to them and verified that there were no charges on our account. My husband received a similar call a few months ago from someone claiming to be from Duke Energy, and Duke Energy actually has a fraud reporting section now, because they've had so many people doing that in the most recent downturn in the economy, of asking people to send the prepaid cards that are sold at Dollar General. So those are just things to be aware of. They're targeting across the board, but obviously older adults tend to be especially high targets. Social Security scams are also on the rise, and Social Security has a means of reporting that immediately to them. So there are just some things to always remember. Social Security will never request personal or financial information through emails, text messages, or social media. Social Security will never threaten you, suspend your Social Security number, demand immediate payment, require payment by cash, gift card, prepaid debit card, or wire transfer, or ask for gift card numbers over the phone, or ask you to wire or mail cash. If you receive a call from someone who is saying that they're going to suspend your Social Security number, hang up the phone, do not give any information, and report the scam at the web address that's on the slide. You can also call the number for Social Security, and one of the very first options they give you is to report a Social Security scam, call this number. So that's also another way to report it. To learn, Social Security has their own page there. The web address is on the slide as to how to better protect yourself from Social Security scams. And you should also, if you need legal help with protecting your money or protecting yourself from financial exploitation, or you think that you have been the victim of a scam, you should consult an elder law attorney or another attorney. We also just wanted to let everyone know that there is a webinar tomorrow that is being presented by the Federal Trade Commission and Identity Theft Resource Center for identity theft and older adults. And the information on how to join this webinar is on the slide, and the Zoom link and passcode will also be provided in the chat box. And finally, if you cannot afford an attorney or you want to apply for free legal services on a wide variety of these issues or other issues, we have our telephone intake service. Intake specialists are standing by. The hours are 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Thursday. We also have online intakes, and we also have resources for you to stay connected and get additional information on your legal rights. And that concludes the presentation. So if anyone has any questions, I will be happy to take those at this time.
Hey Lynn, it's Susie back on with you, and we do have some questions. And I do want to, before we get to those questions, I do want to really amplify with our audience the webinar with the FTC tomorrow. You know, they launched a new website called identitytheft.gov. And so what's really awesome about that is they're really ramping up what they're doing with making it as easy as possible for people to report abuse and scams and fraud. And so identitytheft.gov is that website, and everyone should take note of that for sure. and that'll be a really good webinar to piggyback onto the one that Lynn has been doing for us today. So I just wanted to really amplify that for our viewers and listeners. And certainly feel free to put some more questions in the question box. But let me go ahead and get started with the ones we do have, Lynn. One of the questions is it financially better to gift your home to children before you die?
That's really a very fact-specific question. There are going to be a lot of factors involved in that, including your relationship with your children, your other estate plans, the other assets in your estate. The one thing to be mindful of is, should your children get a judgment or other type of debt collection activity against them, then the creditors could potentially come after your home if your child is listed as a joint owner. And it may or may not be protected like it would be if it was your personal home and your home alone in the title. So that's something to always consult with an estate planning attorney about to make that decision. It's really just going to depend. There are ways of doing that to avoid probate transfers. It's not necessarily a bad idea with spouses to have it set up to be a joint tenants with rights of survivorship, and to have some other means taken for title issues with vehicles and other things with spouses. But once you look at passing it on to that next generation or to someone who's not your spouse and who isn't already a co-owner of the property, there are some legal implications that you may not be thinking about, including one possible issue would be that if for some reason you didn't want your child's spouse to inherit your house, because there are some situations where the child could predecease you. So it's possible that then their ownership interest in your house that you gave them through a deed now passes through their probate estate. And that's gonna, if they don't have a will, then that could not be how you would normally want your house to pass or your property to pass. So it's important to have those conversations and to talk to an attorney and kind of really work through that. But sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't is probably the best answer, and you really need more fact-specific consultations with an attorney to decide that.
Yeah, spoken like a true lawyer, and unfortunately, lots of times that is the answer that we have to give because these things are so fact-specific. You know, people apply for our assistance on a case. There's no quick answer, especially in these types of situations. So you really do have to look at all those different factors, Lynn, that you mentioned. So I would encourage everybody, if they're thinking about something like that, they definitely should consult with some legal assistance with an attorney. We have another question that is, when I see a suspicious email, I report it as phishing to my email provider. Do they really do anything about that? And that is an excellent question.
I really don't know. I think it really depends on the email provider. You know, I also think that the company that's being spoofed, it depends on who it is. Best Buy wasn't really that concerned about it. Duke Energy wanted every bit of information we could give them when my husband and I got those two scams a couple months ago, about a week apart actually. So I think it really just depends on the email provider. Hopefully they are doing something. If not, if it's only just flagging them as spam and sending them to a folder where you may not accidentally click on a link.
Yeah, I agree, but I do think, you know, that there is a heightened awareness amongst companies, like you mentioned, Duke Energy, you know, and I think those kind of providers and others are starting to take note. And I don't know if anyone else has noticed this, but at several of the places that I have been lately, and in particular, some of the convenience stores, if you use a gift card which I recently was using like a Visa gift card that I had taken on a trip and hadn't used all of it. So I was using that, and a warning came up on the card reader, that said, be careful about using gift cards. And you mentioned that as one of the scams that we see so much of. And so I was really delighted to see that some of the companies out there are really starting to take note and be proactive with their customers. So I just think that's really, really fantastic. Let's see. Well, we have a number of questions on the subject of, what's the government doing to mitigate some of this abuse towards senior citizens? People are taking, individuals and even couples who seem to be something they're not are taking advantage of seniors. And this seems to be quite often people who are drug addicts. And also just asking about, what else can be done and is being done because this is so rampant. And so I do want to add, in addition to the FTC webinar tomorrow that Lynn mentioned, I'd like to tell our viewers about some of the things that we're doing here at South Carolina Legal Services in this regard. We have our consumer unit, which I am, sorry about that, some kind of announcement on my phone. So we have the consumer unit, I'm the unit head for that, and then we have an elder law unit, and one of our great attorneys, Taylor Ott, is the unit head for that, and we've been doing a lot of collaboration with both of those units. And let me just talk about 3 things that we're doing at Legal Services. So first of all, every year our country observes National Consumer Protection Week in March. And so this year our theme, and maybe I'll just put myself on the video here so y'all can see who's talking to you. Anyway, this year our theme at Legal Services for National Consumer Protection Week was an eye on aging, because we have just seen so much in the way of consumer fraud and the exploitation and abuse that Lynn's been talking about. And so for National Consumer Protection Week, we did quite a bit of posting of materials, doing presentations online and in other ways to really highlight what's going on in this area. And so if anybody is interested in looking at some of those details, you can certainly go to our YouTube channel. Of course, we have a whole playlist devoted to National Consumer Protection Week. So there's a lot of good information there. At our legal services website, which is www.sclegal.org. You can see it there on the screen. We have blog posts and other things there that are, I think, really helpful in focusing on some of these problems. And so I invite everyone to look at those resources. Number 2, during National Consumer Protection Week, or during that observance, we reached out to many of the people who serve the seniors in our communities across South Carolina. And I'm sure that some of those may be on our webinar today, and thanks for being here. We reached out and coordinated with them and with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau on what we call a placemat project. And the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, has a whole series of paper placemats. And each of the placemats addresses some sort of a scam or fraud or financial abuse type thing. So it's perfect for serving those senior meals. And so we were just delighted that people were interested. In fact, we had so much interest that we really got backed up on the orders. And we've been working on that. And thanks to those of you who are on this webinar and others who might not be, for your patience while we're working hard to open those floodgates of getting those placemats out to you. Because now that we're starting to see those meals being served to seniors in person again, That's a great tool. It's a paper throwaway thing, but it certainly is a warning for our seniors, and also hopefully a conversation starter when they're getting together for those meals. So that's a really great project, and we thank all of our partners who are participating in that for the participation and also for the patience while that backlog gets cleaned up and that floodgate opens back up. If anyone on the call would like to be a part of that program and hasn't already been in contact with us, you can send a request to a special email address that we have set up, and that is placematproject@sclegal.org. I want to make sure I got that right. placematproject@sclegal.org. So definitely let us know if you are not already in the loop with that program. And then finally, I wanted to mention that we are working with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau to have a convening with all the various entities in South Carolina, both public and private, so that we can get together and make sure that we're including as a big piece of what we do for our seniors in South Carolina, working with the fraud, abuse, and financial exploitation of our seniors. As Lynn has so aptly said today, it is a really growing problem. Just those few examples, Lynn, that you have given of what's happening to people, not just seniors, but everybody, but certainly in particular, seniors are a target. And I think in our rural areas, seniors are especially subjected to this, and really need help with all of the entities around the state that are helping them. So whether it's education, provision of services, sharing information about the latest scam and things like that, we're hopeful that in convening all these folks who also they convene for other reasons, but we're hoping to really have some time together to talk about this growing problem and share resources and information and see what we as the various public and private entities and the government individuals and entities that are dedicated to problems like this are all together and working together towards as much of a resolution as we can get for a problem like this. So we really believe that combining forces like that is going to be really helpful. So that's some of what we're doing here at Legal Services. I know that, again, the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, and the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, both of those are federal government entities, and a big part of what they do is working on these issues. So I would also just recommend that if you have an issue, if one of these scams has happened to you or someone you know, you definitely can go to those websites of those two government departments and make a complaint. They both have complaint systems. They both are very eager to help and do something about that. I think that's why this identitytheft.gov has been launched as a website, so that it's as easy as they can possibly make it to report things. But it's ftc.gov and then consumerfinance.gov. Those are those two websites, and I would definitely invite our viewers and listeners today, if you've got something to report, definitely report it, because the more we can report things, the closer that they will get to locating these people who are perpetrating these scams. So let me just real quick see if we have any other questions before we go. Yeah, I think that's it. Lynn, I want to thank you so much for a really helpful presentation today on a serious and important subject with the financial abuse and exploitation of our seniors. And thanks to all of you who joined us today. We really, truly do appreciate that you tune in to Level Up Law every Tuesday at noon. We bring you information about different areas of law that we practice in, and hopefully it's good information, but you can certainly, if you want to catch up, if you haven't seen all of them, just go to our YouTube channel, and they're all there on a playlist called Level Up Law. And also, while you're there, if you found Lynn's presentation to be helpful, which I'm sure you did, you can share it with others. You can like it, of course, but also share the broadcast with other people that are in this arena, whether it's friends, family, colleagues, other senior service groups that you know of. Definitely share it out. There's a lot of good information here and on our various websites and social media that Lynn's got on the screen right now. Okay, and if you do have an issue and you need legal representation, just note what Lynn mentioned, which is that we do have people taking your information to see if you're eligible for us to help you, and we certainly do take cases that are this type of subject matter. We do the best we can. We're not scam hunters. We can't always find the scammer, but sometimes we can be helpful in, guiding you to what you can do about it, whether it be in the court system or the federal government complaint system or some other way. Now, I do want you to keep an eye on our Facebook page. We have Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. All of our episodes for Level Up Law are always promoted there, so you can see what's coming up. And so definitely keep a check on that. If you've signed up and subscribed to our YouTube page, you'll get that notification. If you sign for the alerts, you'll get a notification every time we post a new episode. So if you didn't catch the live announcement, then you can always go back and look at it on our YouTube page. But we love it when you come in and watch it live. That's the best. So thanks for tuning in to Level Up Law today. We look forward to seeing everyone next week when Lynn Farr will be joining us again, and we thank her so much, especially the day after Memorial Day, which is sometimes can be a tough day to add something to your schedule. But Lynn will be talking about child support and the South Carolina child support guidelines. So that'll be really good information for our viewers out there. So definitely be sure and tune in and look for that registration information on our Facebook and other social media, and actually on our website as well, sclegal.org. We have a calendar there. You can go find Tuesday at noon and click on that link and register for whatever is coming up. We got a great slate for June, and we invite you to come back and join us. So Lynn, thanks again so much, and I appreciate the comments in the chat box and the question box for those who found this helpful. And Lynn, do you have any parting words?
I don't. I will just caution everyone that's on here listening that, powers of attorney are very helpful instruments to have. And it's a good idea to get those in place before you need them so that you can monitor your activities and make sure the person that you appoint is someone you can actually trust. And I would urge anyone who is wanting any type of advance directives to take action now before it's too late to get those processes in place.
Totally agree. Thanks so much. And we actually had a Level Up Law episode on advance directives, so definitely go check that out, folks. And again, thanks so much to Lynn Farr, our managing attorney in Spartanburg, and to those of you who joined us today for Level Up Law. Hopefully we leveled up your legal knowledge in this area, as we try to do every Tuesday at noon. Thanks again, everybody, and that concludes today's webinar.